Welcome back once again to my new guide series where I share a bunch of must-know pointers to get you started in Digimon World Next Order. My name is Mr. Wolfie and this is guide number 3, which will show you how and where to power grind efficiently and ultimately give you the insane stats you need in order to dominate the game. Guide 1 and 2 are also both available, sharing 15 beginner and 15 advanced tips, so feel free to check those out if you haven't already. Thank you for all the love and support on these videos so far guys, let's get right into it. In order to use these training spots effectively, let's first establish some easy fundamentals. 1. This footage was recorded on normal mode, and so replicating what I am showing you will be simpler on normal mode or below. 2. This is my third generation of rookies on a new game file. This means that I raised my starting rookies and then another pair of Digimon before recording this footage. 3. Pay attention to the matchups when following in my footsteps, particularly the Digivolution rank between your own Digimon and my Digimon on screen. These spots are a template for how to train and may have to be tailored slightly to your own game. 4. You want to be as efficient with your time as possible. Remember, every second that you're not in a menu or in a fight, your Digimon are aging. Finally, these are the items and money that I am starting with as we begin. This is not a lot of stuff to save up, but if you need extra help getting to this stage, then please watch my first 2 guides and come back after. You'll want to ensure that you have the block command and also the long life perks if you don't already have these in the Tamer tree. Blocking is a must for these fights, and longer life will give you more room to breathe between Digivolutions and stop your Digimon from transforming too early. Whew. Okay, let's go. To begin our journey, we'll be starting off by fighting against our old mates, the Goblimon level 5 in the Nigh Plains Powerplant 2. Depending on your current stats, this may either be quite tough for you or a complete cakewalk. Remember that players of all levels will be watching this, so only fight here if you're gaining plus 20 stats. As you can see from our first encounter, we are already way beyond these dudes, and so we're going to be moving on instantly. Next up, we'll be heading around the corner to another close by spot, the old Cableway. Here you'll find some more Goblimon, this time who are a little bit stronger at level 8. I recommend staying here until your strength is around 500 and your other stats are around 400. HP and MP will vary dramatically in the beginning, so try to work with what you've got and recover up if necessary. Again, a lot of you will hopefully not even need this area, but if you are below the stats on screen now, then hang out here for a bit. Once your stat gains start to dwindle, call it a day and save your game. At number 3, we're going to be staying in the old Cableway, but waiting until after 4 PM. When dusk arrives, the Numemon level 7 will appear and act as our next sparring partner. I stayed here until my stats were roughly as follows, which is where I started to max out. In my own game, I actually burned a bunch of time waiting for the Numemon to spawn, but you guys don't have to do this if you don't want to. If you get to 4 PM and these guys are way too weak, then load up your save file and head directly over to spot number 4. After the Numemon, I autopiloted back to the city and, in an effort to save time, I immediately hit up Wizardmon and flew to the Logic Volcano. Once you land, you're immediately going to back out of the volcano, back into the Hallowed Hall area of the server desert. Here, we're going to be fighting against our first champion Digimon in Garurumon Black level 7. This guy will be pretty tough at first, so don't be upset if your first few fights are a little bit rough. Remember that every fight you win, you're getting incrementally stronger, and so things will always get easier. I was here for a while, with Garuru taking me all the way up to about 850 strength, 750 stamina and wisdom, and roughly 900 in speed. This will take a bit of time, so if your Digimon get fatigued, be sure to use the tent to rest and reset Garurumon's spawn in the process. Once the wolf has been tamed, we're going to be porting back to the city once again in order to sleep in Digimon's hut. After resupplying from the farm and Coromon, I pick up some supplies and speak to Bro. This time, we're going to be flying to the server desert hinterland, also known as the Tower Road. From here, we're going to be walking out of the area, across the oasis to the Stepstep, where we can find the Psychemon level 20. For some reason, these guys are weaker than the Tower Road Psychemon, but still give out more stats. Regardless, the pink bros shouldn't be too difficult for you to handle, but they're definitely the homie when it comes to great gains. I trained here until my stats look something like this. Okay, listen carefully because this next spot can seem daunting, but I'm going to teach you guys the trick to it. Head out of the Stepstep back towards the oasis, but this time we're going to head into the dead end town in order to fight some Geremon. The first time you walk in here, you'll likely be rushed by an entire mob of these maniacs, which is less than ideal. Instead, what you're going to do is take a tiny step to the right and pull the singular Geremon over towards you. After the fight is done, quickly leg it out of the door and repeat. A lot of people might bypass this area as it can seem quite risky, however, the next fight after this is particularly challenging, and so you'll need as much stats as you can get. I stuck around here until my stats were roughly about the 1200 mark, but you could theoretically stay longer if you wanted. Up next is one of the grandfathers of Next Order training. Conveniently enough, we are moving back through into the Stepstep in order to fight another Garurumon. This time, however, he's level 21. This guy will undoubtedly be a little scary in the beginning, but the great thing about this opponent is that you can transport directly to him with Birdramon, so take as many supply runs back to the city as you need. Garurumon will keep you busy for a long time, and if you have the willpower, this dude will give you XP for ages. Assuming you have the Agumon Wastelands unlocked, you can even use this neighbouring area to use the bathroom if need be. Use the tent where it makes sense, and buckle up. If you're getting fed up with staring at the sand of the server desert, then fear not, because our next training spot is going to be over at the cool docks of Mod Cape. Fly to the default area and step into the mod ship 3.0. Here we'll find our old chum Seadramon, level 29. This guy does have some tilting moves that are very likely to stun you frequently, which can slow things down in the beginning. Try to get a good few rounds in with him, and remember that things will speed up after every fight. Taking your HP up to 7400, your MP up to around 6100, and the rest of your stats up a huge jump as well, this will be a heavy grind and you will be here for a while. Take breaks, make saves, and try to keep the time between fights to a minimum. After spending the entire day with Seadramon, I headed back to the town and stocked up. In the interest of time, I decided to hop directly into our next spot, which can be found in the snowy regions of Absolute Zero. Make your way up the Freezeway and head into the outside area of the Frost Cathedral. Here we'll find some Snow Agumon level 36. Fighting these guys should be a breeze, and despite their rookie stature, they do provide you with a bunch of epic stats. A tip here is to reset the Agumon from the Frost Cathedral itself rather than the Freezeway, as this will save you a bit of time. I slept here overnight and only left when my stats got to around these thresholds here. As always, you guys could stay here longer if you wanted to, but I have a really cool spot lined up next that I think you will prefer. For the time being, we still have rookies, but this will change later today. We are travelling back to Mod Cape, but this time to the Hinterland area. You'll land in Mod Ship 2.0, so head directly forward and swing left into the Ship 2.0 cabin. In here, WaruSeadramon makes his debut in our training list. This guy is a little out of the way and easily missed because of the dead end location. However, his access route and tiny respawn area make this an absolutely phenomenal training spot. In our case, we fought until our stats were around 15,600 HP, 11,400 MP, 4,100 strength, 4,200 stamina, with wisdom and speed being around the 3,700 mark. WaruSeadramon is a babe, so make sure you pay him a visit. At this point, we did end up digivolving to champion, giving us a minute boost to our overall stats. The main thing to take away is that if you've gotten this far, then you're already smashing it. You can compare your own numbers to mine on screen, but I wouldn't get too hung up on them as it's likely that you'll differ in a couple of aspects. Equip any new moves that you may have acquired over your journey so far, and head back to the Fire Chicken. For a fee of 6,000 bits, Birdramon will take us to Faulty Ex Machina's Hinterland, where we will be dumped in front of these big fellas. Despite the stink eye, WarGrowlmon Orange is in fact happy to see you, and will continue to feed you big stats if you manage to beat him. You can fight against the level 35 one in the East Coast area, or the level 36 ones in the Control Island if you're ready. I stayed here for a fair bit, managing to get my HP up to almost 19,000, my MP up to 14,300, and the rest of my stats as follows. WarGrowlmon has a few buddies and an easy reset, making him a great stepping stone into spot number 12. When you nip back to the city, provision up and do your things. Now that you're champion level, you could also use this opportunity to visit the dojo and lock in any ultimates that you may or may not want moving forward. Make sure your tent is repaired and fly out to the Bonnie Resort Hinterland, where you will be dropped into the graveyard. Make your way past the chumps and head into the Night Church, where Leroy Jenkins himself is waiting for you. WereGarurumon Black is level 45 and is going to be one of the best training spots accessible to you before the end of the main story. I didn't manage to gain much strength points from this guy, but everything else increased pretty healthily. Wrestle with him until the rest of your stats dwindle off, and say a thank you prayer to the XP gods on the way out. Up until this point in our list, every Digimon mentioned has been available to any player who has made it past Chapter 2, Chapter 3. You should note that if you're able to continually beat WereGarurumon, you are most likely strong enough to beat any other pre-endgame battles in the game. There will of course be the exception of some random encounters found in the world that might require EXE Digivolution to beat, but the point is that you're now strong enough to smash a large portion of the game. So, if WereGarurumon isn't enough for you, you'll have to head into Chapter 4 and enter Infinite Cauldron. As soon as you arrive in this charming abode, you'll be met with both Wizardmon and Sorcerormon level 41. Again, if you've already digivolved to Ultimate, don't panic as this won't matter all that much. If you get to this area and these guys don't give you any stats, then you may be able to bypass it entirely. For everyone else, be sure to walk around the sides of the arena when pulling aggro and fight the duo one at a time. This is not exactly the comfiest of spots, but make sure to reset from the loading screen at the bottom of the stairs and you should be good. Your HP and MP will be the first stats to trickle off, but I stayed here for a good stretch of time, taking the rest of my stats up to around 6,000. Depending Depending on how you're getting on, you may be able to stay here even longer if you would like to. However, at this point, I chose to return home in order to pass some time and eventually digivolve to Ultimate. In our original training locations video, PlatinumNumemon was our final challenger, and so it wouldn't make sense to exclude them from our new guide. In the layer 5 level of Infinite Cauldron, you'll find this shiny friend waiting to blast you. Try your best to sustain through the first bunch of encounters and make it over the initial hump of difficulty. There is a few strong AoE moves in this Digimon's kit, so don't be dissuaded if you get clapped at first. PlatinumNumemon will take you up to God status and also teach you a bunch of OP abilities in the process. Once you have beaten her for the final time, your stats should look something like this, i.e. absolutely cracked. Although you won't be able to EXE Fuse yet, you can now easily beat the final boss of this dungeon and the game if you choose to. You will most likely need a bunch of items to do it, but the path is now set for you to conquer in your own time. For a lot of you out there, that's all you will need. For those of you who want to keep playing, however, we are not finished yet. At our final training spot, there can be none other than MetalSeadramon level 55 in the concealed gorge area of the Frost Cathedral. This area will only open up after you beat the main story in Infinite Cauldron, so don't be surprised if you can't get in here before. In order to allow MetalSeadramon to spawn, you will also have to do one additional boss fight, but this is very easy. Speak to Goblimon outside the gorge and he'll tell you that his sleeping Belphemon is taking up space next door. Once gone, you can then re-enter the area and find your true opponent. This fight is not that fun, especially at first, mostly due to Seadramon's love of spamming Aurora Freeze, which is the most powerful ice move in the game. On the flip side, MetalSeadramon is the final training bro, and he will take your stats to the moon for your troubles. Even after Mega Digivolution, this guy will power train you to almost max stats and thus allow you to smash pretty much everyone else in the game. As a final note, when you do make the jump to Mega and are looking to be doing some EXE Digivolutions, remember that you will lose a small percentage of your bond between you and your Digimon. In order to raise your bonds as fast as possible, make sure to use the restaurant in the city each time your Digimon are hungry. The restaurant is quite expensive, but I highly recommend some of the milkshakes, as these are the least filling, meaning that you can buy 3 or 4 in a row and boost your bonds several times in one sitting. Once your bonds are full, I am confident that you should be able to go on and beat the vast majority of enemies in this game. And that, folks, about wraps up this video. Remember that all your base stats are capped at plus 24 per battle, that is unless you have the Tamer skills that will increase this to plus 26. The thing to keep in mind is to not stress yourself out fighting enemies that are too difficult for you at any given time, but instead use these locations as a loose template for your own game where you can adjust the list to your own needs. If you find one spot is too easy, then move on. If you find one spot is too hard, either return to the last spot or look around the current area for an enemy who is more convenient for you. Keep in mind relativity and go get them. If you guys have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to add any additional pointers you think are worth mentioning in the comments, or come and hit me up in the stream sometime over on Twitch. I have been Jack, aka Mr. Wolfie. Peace out, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.